It's really important that you follow guidance when making a bottle of formula milk for your baby to avoid your baby getting any tummy infections. All the equipment that you use will need to be fully sterilised beforehand. All the information that I'm about to discuss with you, you can find by searching on the NHS website for formula milk, and the details will be there for you. Now, the first step is to empty the kettle and fill it with at least 1 litre of fresh tap water before you turn the kettle on. Now, when it comes to the temperature of the water, it's important to leave the kettle to stand no more than 30 minutes from boiling the kettle, because this will mean that the water that you are using to make the baby's formula milk will be at least 70 degrees. After 30 minutes, the water might drop below 70 degrees, and it needs to be this temperature in order to kill any bugs or bacteria that might have found their way inside the dried formula powder. When you're ready to make up the bottle, wash your hands and disinfect the surface that you're going to use to prepare the feed on. Now, you're going to take all the bottle parts out of the steriliser, trying just to touch the outsides, or you might use a little pair of tongs. That would be really helpful, sterilised tongs as well. If you use a cold water steriliser, you'll need to shake off the excess water before you're making up the feed. Next, with the boiled water that you've left stood in the kettle no more than 30 minutes ago, pour the water into the bottle. You put the hot water into the bottle before you put the formula powder, okay? So 1 scoop of formula powder is going to make up 30 millilitres of formula milk. Sometimes you might find that other people talk about 1 ounce or 2 ounces of milk, but an ounce is just equivalent to 30 millilitres. But nowadays, all the NHS information will talk about it in millilitres. So for every scoop of formula, you're going to need 30 millilitres of water. If you were going to have, for example, 90 millilitres of formula, that would mean you'd be using 3 scoops of formula powder. So you add the water, try and make it as exact as possible, and then you're going to use 1 level scoop of the formula powder. Please make sure it's not too compressed or too loose, that it's just nicely scooped. Sometimes inside the tin there's a little line that you can use to just level off the scoop of the formula at that time. Once you've added the powder, you're going to reassemble your bottle by holding the edge of the teat and placing it into the teat ring before you screw that on top of your bottle. Now, you can put the lid on top and give the bottle a really good shake to make sure that all the formula powder is thoroughly dissolved before giving it to your baby. You clean up the surface that you make the formula milk on, but bear in mind that the formula milk will need to be cooled down before it is fed to your baby. To check it is the right temperature, you're going to shake the formula onto your wrist. If it feels warm, it's okay. If it feels too hot or too cold, it's not okay. So just be nicely warm. You can put the bottle under some cold running water to help it cool down if you need to do that. If you're out and about, the NHS advice suggests that you can use a flask of hot water, because that shouldn't drop below 70 degrees. So you've boiled the water, you've put that in the hot water flask, and you can take that with you. You would take your sterilised bottles and put the lids on and put them into your bag and take them with you, and then you would make up the formula in exactly the same way as if the kettle had boiled no more than 30 minutes beforehand. You would put the powdered formula, you can pre-measure it with the scoops in a clean container. So for example, if you know that you're going to be making up a 3-ounce bottle or 90 millilitre bottle, you'll have 3 scoops of that formula in a little clean box to take that with you. Or you can do, if it's easier for you, just use some ready-made cartons of formula milk while you're out and about instead. As I've said before, you can find more information on this on the NHS website by searching for formula milk. It's really important that you follow the instructions on the tin with regards to how quickly you need to use the formula milk once it's made up. So you'll notice that each of these bottles are being made fresh for your baby, that we're not storing bottles in a fridge to be used later on. And usually the instructions on the can will tell you, for example, normally it might be once you've got the formula milk made, it needs to be used within 2 hours. If the baby sucked on the bottle, very often that needs to be used within 1 hour. But have a look at those instructions. This is all just to make sure that there's no bugs or bacteria that are growing inside that bottle that could potentially make your baby poorly.